Yeah. Cool.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Turf Talk Down Under. I'm Angela, and this is Jasmine. Hi, Jazz.
Hi, Ange. How you going?
Oh, good. Busy week, both personally and in turfing. There's been a lot of news, not much good news, a little bit. But, our government and our media is doubling down. In spite of increasing evidence that this whole gender industry is a shocker, they are doubling down in pushing through all sorts of legislation and promoting AGPs as, desirable people and all sorts of stuff. The big news that got to me was, the pressure to put gender identity in the Sex Discrimination Act that we talked about last week regarding the workplace, but also just the federal government, federal Labor is lobbying to put it in all our legislation as part of the Sex Discrimination Act, that it will also include gender identity, which completely undermines the Act, because if there's no sex, there's no sex-based rights, there's no sexual harassment, there's no, anything that there's nothing that will protect women as a distinct sex from men. So yeah, it's really troubling.
It's a shocker, Ange. There's no doubt about it. It just turns everything on its head.
It does.
You can't have sex and gender. You've got to have one or the other. So, we're just going to have to keep banging on, aren't we?
My son said to me this morning, there's only two genders. And I said, no, mate, there's lots of genders and there's only two sexes. And I explained that the sex is that body that you're born in, and that influences every aspect of your life. In that, for example, if you're a woman, then you run the risk from about the age of 13 to the age of 50 of getting pregnant. Most women have periods, all the cliches of gender. And he's sitting there going, oh, yeah. And I said, so no matter what you do to your external appearance, you still remain a woman on the inside. So if you go to a hospital and you tell them I'm a man and you look like a man. So I explained it. My son's only 11, nearly 12, and he got it. It was just, he just automatically got it. And yet, people in important positions in our government are like, pretending that gender is more important than sex. It is insane, and it's gaslighting. And it's quite terrifying when you think about it.
It does start with the kids, though, doesn't it? It was great to see the Bernard Lane break the story about the test case.
Yes.
In that lie about, sex being optional and kids being able to choose their sex and not go through puberty. And so it was really great to see that in the family court, I think it was. They had a big case, and they decided, because the mum and the dad were arguing about whether or not this 10-year-old, 11-year-old, prepubescent child should go on puberty blockers. And in the end, the gender clinic expert backed down and said that the child couldn't go on any cross-sex hormones or puberty blockers until they were at least 16. So it's a huge win, really. Huge win, finally, to be having a conversation about the harm that puberty blockers wreak, all the bone density and everything. It's just shocking. I love the lawyer. Did you see the lawyer, Bill Cordus, I think his name was, and he said that gender medicine for kids was tantamount to child abuse.
It's true.
Yes, we've been saying that for years, and finally, the truth comes out.
See, in the
child abuse.
Yeah, in the past, when there's been disagreement among parents, the only time it's ever made the news is when the judge has decided to affirm the child.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that has been, I think there was one in Queensland, one in New South Wales, and you were speculating about where this judge was, because they actually took the time to look at the legitimate resource and not just listen to the gender clinic. Because the problem is that judges are going, oh, who are the experts? The gender clinic. We know they're not experts.
Yeah.
Dr. Telfer herself at the Melbourne clinic said that she had no qualification to lead that clinic, and she took that job because nobody else wanted to do it. She was at a conference earlier this year or last year where it was recorded, her saying that.
Wow, yeah. Was that in WA? I think we had a few.
Yes.
We had a few mothers undercover at the talk, and they reported back with that, which is just shocking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we do love a bit of speculation about which gender clinic it was. I mean, you know, we can't know because the family court suppressed the state, I guess, to try and protect the poor child from, you know, people trying to figure it out. But the lawyer was from Melbourne, so you do wonder if it might have been Telfer Clinic herself that got this slap down, which is just the best news. If it is.
Because, they're spreading lies, and the ABC is complicit, and the Andrews government is complicit, and every minister who votes for these female erasing, child abusing laws is complicit. So to actually have someone, you know, stand up, I mean, they may appeal, who knows? But this is big. Like, you know, the evidence is in puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones are dangerous. They're not for kids. Yeah.
And that was the other thing I forgot to say, that they also the family court ordered that this poor child wasn't to be socially transitioned.
Wow, that's excellent.
You know, there's this big lie that social transition, you know, it does no harm, and it, you know, gives them time, and like, well, no, once you socially transition them, you just concrete in that they're then going to be medicalized. So it was amazing news. And then we had the brilliant follow-up to that with Julie Cross. So front page of the Courier Mail, blowing the lid off the escalating numbers of children just in gender clinics in the last, I think it was like the last 10 years. So it's gone from 211 kids in 2014 to 2,067 children being treated at the hospital gender clinics last year.
And what year? Last year was it? And I think there'll be another blowout, because last year we were still impacted by COVID.
Yeah.
And there'll be a massive blowout this year and next year.
Yeah.
Because even just in the street, like I live in the boondocks, and even in the street, every time I leave the house, there are trans-identifying people. You know, every time I leave the house, I see usually a girl with no breasts.
Yeah. And the thing, because Diana Kenny was the source for a lot of that data that Julie Cross wrote about, and you know, she's been on your show before, hasn't she? And she said that, you know, what those figures hide, as alarming as they are, is all the kids who are getting puberty blockers from their GPs. And, you know, like the mother that I came into contact with who transed her 4-year-old, the breastfeeding counsellor, you know, she just went to a GP initially. So that was how she made the decision to socially transition her 4-year-old daughter, you know.
And we all know.
GP, and no one's capturing any of those figures. So it could literally be 10,000 kids who are being treated by the medical system, and we just don't know.
Yeah, the conversion laws coming in last year mean that GPs now fast-track kids because they're so afraid of being accused of saying no to these people that someone presents at a GP and they're handballed straight off to the affirmation-only gender clinic. So just in the last, 12 to 18 months that this bill has been passed, like my GP's, you know, she's like most normal people, that there's a very small minority of people who are trans-identifying, and for them, it's maybe appropriate after rigorous testing for them to go on to the medical pathway. So she's like most people. And yet she said to me now, I said, what do you do when a parent presents with a child? And she says, I refer, I can't. And that's recommended. So GPs are recommended by the AMA, who has actually spoken out about the dangers of affirmation, the Australian Medical Association. AMA recommending a hands-off, because nobody wants to get sued. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Just that activists have got such power over the medical profession, you know. They just need to stand up. I mean, at least the psychiatrists have now stood up, but the GPs seem
And
to be really
psychologists.
fearful. Yeah, and the psychologists.
So you can get your diagnosis from a psychologist and take it to a GP and get your pills. So you don't even have to attend a gender clinic anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And in the other article she had in the Daily Telegraph, Julie Cross, she was talking, she'd spoken to trans affirming doctors around the country, like one in Queensland, one in New South Wales. This bloke in New South Wales says that he's happy after 2 visits to prescribe wrong sex hormones, and that he has around 300 trans patients a year. He didn't say if they were children or adults, but you know, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's more like 10,000 children across the country rather than 2,000. It's like we know multiple families with kids who are suffering this, and we're just, like you say, suburban mums, you know, so you multiply that by all the suburbs and all the states and territories around the country.
Yeah. And it's lucrative for the doctors and people too, because there's a local bulk billing GP here and he gets to charge a consult fee. There's an actual Medicare item to inject his client with her, I think it's fortnightly testosterone injections, because she can't do it herself. She just doesn't do it. So he gets, she makes an appointment, comes in, he gives her the shot, she walks out. So she's in the room for 2 minutes. How are you? Good, bye. And he gets to charge a full consult for that to Medicare.
Was this a teenager, Ange?
Yeah.
Oh, mate. That's
you know,
heartbreaking.
And the funny thing is, these doctors are telling me this stuff as if it's normal, because it has been to them. They're following a procedure that has been set by the government, basically.
Yeah, and the government is following what the activists say they want.
Yeah, like WPATH guidelines.
Yeah,
and we know the dodgy eunuch and everything involved in that, like the dodgy Dodgerama. Oh,
yeah.
So I mean, no, it's just crazy. But Western Australia.
WA. Yep, let's talk WA. What a train wreck they've got going on over there. So just yesterday, the Premier, Mark McGowan, announced that he's going to make conversion a crime. And again, you know, they put together horrific, you know, same-sex attraction conversion therapy, which, you know, like no one's shown us any evidence that it's still happening. But yeah, in the olden days, they did used to do terrible things to gays and lesbians.
Some sections of community still do. Like there is still homophobia out there. So there is a need for people not to have some form of consequences for people who try and convert someone out of their innate sexuality, for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't think there's any evidence that doctors or psychologists or psychiatrists are trying to convert gay and lesbian people, like they did in the past. There might be some kind of kooky Christians trying to pray the great gay way, but I would have thought, I mean, it's terrible, but if you're an adult and you're gay and you're going to a church that thinks you're committing a sin, why are you doing that? I don't get it, But yeah, anyway, so they're conflating the WA proposed laws. They're saying that is the same as you saying to your son, well, you can't be a girl, sweetie. That's not possible. Yeah. If you want to wear blue nail polish, awesome, but that doesn't make you a girl. Pop it.
The thing is, these laws are so vague as well. So they're designed as a disincentive. So they're designed to confuse.
Yeah.
They're designed to make people be wary, because this whole ideology has got as far as it has because people don't want to say the wrong thing, don't want to do the wrong thing. And they're so wary of saying, well, hang on a minute. Yeah. And this is why they do it. So they say, there's this rule now that you can't convert, and telling someone they're not trans is conversion therapy. Now, nobody's explained the legal implications for that. And that would be very, very difficult to prove. And this is what it's going to take. It's going to take someone being taken to court, one of us, for misgendering or something like that, and pointing and saying, look, that's a man. And people in that courtroom saying, no, that's a woman.
Yeah.
Or pointing at a man in a dress.
Yeah, I think the detransitioners are going to have to win this
Yes.
argument for us because,
Yeah.
you know,
Lucky there's more and more speaking up. So it's a shame that there has to be detransitioners, but more and more are speaking up and they're being very brave and they're finding a lot of support.
yeah.
So good for them.
Yeah.
Actually, my friend binged on detransition videos, and that's how she went from being a TRA to a TERF.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're heartbreaking when you watch them, you know, and they're so young, you know, they've been through so much.
And
yeah, go on.
And they're so autistic too. The people that tried to dox me again this week, you know, were criticising the fact that I say that I can't criticise a lot of these TikTok videos and these AGPs on Facebook saying, aren't I beautiful? Because I see autism.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, that's ableist and all this stuff. But I do. This contagion has mostly impacted people from the autism community. And it absolutely and utterly breaks my heart. It really does.
Yeah.
And the fact the autism community isn't calling it out also is what really breaks my heart.
Yeah, they're all captured. I mean, my family member who has a non-binary and now a masculine identity, she's autistic as well. And, you know, and that's the line that the autism communities have, that it's ableist if you question them knowing themselves. And it's like, no, you know, it's so cruel to say that, you know, a teenage girl who spends her entire life on social media has, you know, on like gaming and social media, has almost no friends in real life, you know, comes out as non-binary, gets a lot of attention, you know, feels like she's part of something in a way that she's never felt like she was part of something before, you know. Anyway. Well,
it's quite common for people who are on the spectrum to be more fluid in their sexuality and in the way that they dress and look. And it just is for a lot of different reasons I won't go into now. So, you know, it's okay to not fit stereotypes.
Yeah.
And that's what kids need to be taught.
Stereotypes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas what the trans ideology does is just reinforce stereotypes.
Wow, a person called iPad is here. It's just about to pop in. I forgot to put the waiting room, so they're about to miraculously appear. And I put a little quiz. We've actually got a new Turf Talk Down Under Facebook page, and I put a little quiz. Guess the guest. So if anyone's managed to guess who the guest is, and the clue was, it'll be a bit chaotic. So, so we'll keep talking until iPad turns into a human being.
Well, do you want to just talk about Ruby Matthews while we wait for iPad to turn into a human being? So,
Ruby.
Yeah, well, she's a model who lives in Byron Bay. I think she's very glamorous, but she's also got her head screwed on the right way. So she's a mother of 3. And she came out this week and had a great run in the Daily Mail and just slammed that fashion house, you know, the handbag people, Balenciaga. Yeah, God knows how you say it. That they used S&M, you know, bondage S&M teddy bear photography to try and flog their handbags. And she was great. She came out and just said to all the influencers, all her friends, you know, you should use your influence for good, you know. What are you doing sucking up to these kind of pedo aligned S&M disgusting like handbag people? Say no, you know.
Same goes for the people who defend autogynephiles and say, you know, male rapists should be in someone, you know, politicians will say a male rapist should be in a female prison. And all these people of influence are just there, la 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 la. They know it's not true. But they don't say anything.
Well, Mark McGowan in WA, you know, where they're bringing in the conversion being a crime laws. Just think about all the Aboriginal women in prison in WA. Well, and they're going to have white, rapey, disgusting AGP men in the next cell.
Well, speaking of disgusting, rapey AGP men, a prominent person who has stalked myself and other Australian TERF identifying people on Twitter is up on some sort of charges in which they can't name the charges. But this person has an open Facebook page where they were boasting about being in prison, in a female prison. And he acknowledged that 75% of people he was in prison with in Western Australia were Aboriginal women.
What a disgusting prick. And this bloke's in WA.
Yes. And
Oh
if someone wants to inbox me, I've got no hesitation in telling you who it is. A name will be familiar to some of us because I've blocked him. I don't block anyone unless they're really putrid or they mass report me, and I've had to block him because he wouldn't leave my tweets alone. But yeah, so he was basically boasting that he was in a female prison, and he was absolutely outraged that he had to prove twice that he'd had gender reassignment because it was relevant to them, to the people who decided that he was to go to a female prison. Now, he's a dodgy individual, so we're trying to get some details of what his crimes are. But yeah, the fact that he's got an
open Facebook page and he's talking about being in prison, then you're allowed to mention that. True. Obviously. Yeah. How do we know that he's been charged for something?
Because he said so. But he's in Western Australia, Western Australia, where, to call out people like him and say he's not really trans or he's a predator.
Yeah.
Will get you in trouble now, thanks to these stupid conversion bills.
Yeah. Well, remember that hilarious male radio journalist? I think he was in WA, and he said that, let's call a spade a spade. You're not a chick if you've got a dick.
Yeah.
His wife apparently read him the riot act, and he apologized the next day. But yeah, it's WA and Victoria. I can't decide which one's worse, actually. They're both pretty bad. And Queensland, they're coming up in in third position as the worst state. Do you want to talk about that while we wait for?
Yeah, well, I'm going to talk about Queensland because our guest's from Queensland. So IWD Brisbane's very active against the sex self-ID bill that has just passed in Parliament. And there was a media call out this morning for trans-identifying people to go along to the passing of the bill in order to do a really good photo op. So nobody from the prisons or from IWD Brisbane or women like me who work in crisis service, women-only crisis services who are saying self-ID has impacted us and it's horrendous, none of us are welcome. Only these, this is our guest, just excuse me a minute, only these trans activists are welcome to attend.
It's
so the Minister for Women who's pushed through self-ID to deal with Shannon Fentiman has blocked most female activists and refuses to engage with people who have come to her on very reasonable grounds saying, look, I'm speaking on behalf of this, group of vulnerable women, blah, 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 won't have meetings with any of them. And this is the Minister for Women, and her Twitter feed's full of pro-trans propaganda. But something I noticed this morning is the public sentiment is against sex self-ID, and for good reason. It's not against trans people. None of us are against trans people. And for someone who goes through a long process to rule out everything else, to, dress however they want, even to have the surgery if they want it, we're not against trans people. We are against this bullshit that any man whatsoever can say, I'm a woman, and our governments legally recognise him as exactly the same as us. And it's just, it's insane.
I think you're right. At the beginning, you do a bit of tech support, and I'll talk about this for half a minute, Ange. At the beginning, we were talking about how, all the governments are still trying to push this stuff through. I feel like they know that the public awareness is rising, and that if they don't do it now, they won't get the chance to do it. And they don't want to be caught like the UK government was, where they had that really long consultation period and women got organised and then they weren't able to bring it in at all. So,
yes.
hello.
Here she is.
Hey. Can you hear me?
This is Kellyann Kaos. Hi,
Hey, how are you?
we're good. We're good. You're a very special
Lovely
guest.
to meet you, Kellyann. We've never met before. I know you know Ange from way back.
Yes.
Kellyann, you're in the Sunshine State, and unfortunately, you've just had self ID go through. You have been with IWD Brisbane. You have been active in trying to raise awareness about the impact of self ID. So there's been a couple of things. First, you had a street protest, and what happened there?
Yep. So we've had a few street protests now. We did April, and then we started our little speakers corner after that. And so I had started documenting and whatnot, us women of Brizzy and the greater area here. And so it was a couple back. We were doing our march around after we have our little speakers. And the girl in front of me, the lady in front of me, she's got her little core flute, and I think she had a megaphone as well. And next thing, these people come and sort of blocked us and made
Were
sort
they
of...
men, my friend?
Sorry?
But these people, were they men or women? I like to be specific.
So these were three women in front of us, and they were. I'm only short. I'm 5'1", so these were very, very tall women, and one had a stroller, and they sort of made a wall in front of us, and I sort of thought, wow, that's very strange. And this is the first rally that I had videotaped. So I'd never gone live on YouTube before, so I had my phone going, and it was just happened so quickly that I didn't see, and I got to say person, because I didn't see them come up behind me, but you can see in the little bit of video my hand come out. They were that close to me as they've wrestled the core flute out of the lady in front of me's hand and taken off. And these three women who sort of blocked, I thought, oh, that was really weird and coincidental, like, how things go really quickly. And I sort of made a comment that you just seen that get stolen, because they were like arguing with us and, sort of saying, we were saying, let women speak, and she's saying, aren't I a woman? And it was really, it was just bizarre row of events, and I quickly at that point realized that these three women who had stopped us and made this wall was connected with the person who'd yanked the core flute out. They had worked as a team and operated to do that.
Had a baby, Kellyann. Did you say one of the women had a baby? She had a pusher?
Well, she had a pram, and it was really weird because she had used the pram to sort of blockade, and I got the feeling, and this was just me, that there was no baby in that pram. I actually had got this vibe, like, I'm a mum of two, like my two are young adults now, but I really got the vibe that there was no baby in there. Like, it was more a method of, and that's just my personal opinion, and rewatching that bit of video a few times, I thought, that it was it was very odd, and it was quite scary too, because up until that point, we had a few people sort of get in our faces a little bit and, tell us that we were, F and turfs and bigots, and, do we know biology? We had all that. But I think up until that point, like, maybe I think Anna had something ripped up and thrown in her face at one of the times we'd given out pamphlets. But up until that time, nobody had really put physical hands on us, that, from the ones I've been going to. And that sort of really to me went, okay, these people aren't the nicest people.
See, we've noticed
Yeah.
an escalation in threats and also carrying out aggressive acts. We've noticed an escalation, and it's, you know, and I think we've observed it worldwide as well, like Kelly J's events, other things in America, and now here in Australia. And we're quite small in numbers. So when we go out, there's not that many of us. And a lot of us are women. And, you know, someone like Anna's what, 70?
Yeah. And she's, I'm taller than Anna.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Powerhouse, Anna, but
she
you
is.
know,
like
like,
to have people throwing things at her.
Yeah. Who in there?
We had a detransitioner attack, did a later one as well, or shouted at Kellyann. I thought I saw on Anna's Facebook page that a detransitioner, a young man, got you know, verbaled by some counter protesters at one of the street events.
Yeah, we've some some of the things. One of the people that was sort of, they had come to sort of see what it was about, like they knew what we were about, but they weren't part of us. They got mooned by one of that was the one we had with the younger people that were there. Then that was with Selgrove, where you can see me talking to Selgrove, and we've got this young one climbing up on one of those big silver balls, and the police has taken them down from that. Yeah, so they're pretty active with their activism, the young people. Yeah.
So the next event you had was that Anna went to organise the awareness speakers around self-ID. And she originally had this event booked in a hotel in the city, but the trans activists rang the hotel and made up a whole bunch of lies, and they cancelled her booking, but she found an alternative venue and the event went ahead. Now, you got dragged into the situation where a prominent trans activist saw a photo of you on somebody else's page and managed to identify the venue and harass that venue. So do you want to explain how all that came about?
Okay, so you know, like it was we had a really good event, even though and IWD had to find something a week out. It was great turnout, great speakers. So me being me, I'm a little bit on the loud side. I sort of, you know, especially
loud people.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, there's an Olympian. Yeah. Like I'm going to go to Deb, and I'm going to go, let's flex. You know, I want that photo. Like, how often am I going to get like me be like chatting to an Olympic? Like, so I'm like so fangirl. Like, I'm like, come on. And so we just took a photo. That's all it was. And I'd put it up on my Facebook page, and I was pretty proud of my involvement with IWD. I'm pretty proud of the women who were speaking out. Like, these women are fantastic. And like I said, I get a little bit stars. So I just innocently just put it up on my Facebook page, and it as well, other women were excited about, because it was a cool photo, you know, and had shared that photo on. And the trans activists had actually recognised the red curtains in the background of that particular photo. And because of that, had identified the particular, it was a library building. Yeah, from that. And then they had also made up a sort of collage of that photo and a couple of other women as well together, and like put it on Twitter. I was just scrolling through Twitter going, whoa, hello, there goes my face. You know, like it was a bit of a shock, because I'm actually quite new to Twitter too. So it's yeah, I sort of went, okay, what do I do?
Did it have your name on it, or did it?
No, I will say that they hadn't touched my name on that thing, but they had touched IWD, and my tag was tagged in IWD, which, I mean, look, to me, whatever's, I've got my little channel anyway, so, you know, you can't, not as if you can't find what I've got to say on this. Yeah. So, you know, he's owning this face with that photo. So
it's bad though. I mean, even for those of us who have put our faces and our names publicly on the record as, you know, standing up for women against this ideology, when they spread it and attach it, you know, with lies and say, you know, we're committing hate speech or we're haters, it is still, you know, like, it's really wrong, you know, and I feel for you. It's horrible.
I think the comment that got me the most at my heart was because of my nationality, I'm mixed race. I've got, when my DNA was done, I literally load up the globe. So for myself, I think it was just the attachment to putting it out there. You know, like, if I had done that the other way around, it would be a way bigger deal of that I'm some sort of homophobe, I'm a transphobe. But when it comes sort of this way around, it's a different sort of thing.
Kellyann?
Well, the thing is they compared and I don't want to really mention the venue, because like even us, it was one on the south side of Brisbane that had us, the library place. But they said basically, if you're having the turfs, you might as well have a KKK meeting. So, you know, literally comparing a bunch of women who, like, I'm 46 and I'm one of the younger crew, you know, like, so that was at the meeting, you know, so going, okay, we're going to have a go, send these emails to this venue saying, how dare you have these women have this meeting, and it's equivalent to running the KKK.
It's this, you know, association lie that they get with everyone. You know, they say that we're like racist or that we're sexist or, you know, like, no, that's you. You know, it's all projection.
It totally is, and I think that really, that paradigm of saying a group of beautiful Queensland women and Aussie women who are having a chat, meeting people, welcome, and drawing that parallel, really sort of, when I seen that in writing, it was like, how dare you, you know, like that I do take offense to that, you know, and that did, you know, to use their words, that did trigger me quite a lot, you know, and I thought I wanted to get on there, and I thought, no, I don't need to.
Good on you with your YouTube channel, Kelly. Like, tell us a bit about how you know, what gave you the courage to start that, and how's it going?
So I originally had been seeing this coming at, so it was 2013 when I was the nice girl, and I made a costume for a young man who said he was trans identified, and I made him, so we did 15th century Syrian at the Abbey here up at the coast, and I made that costume, and I went to my belly dance friends and the reenacting friends, come on, we got to have him in. But what we wanted and what we needed was men, because men used to escort the women to the bathroom and stuff. We had mainly women and a few men, so he wanted to come in and be another woman, and that was hard to get the other reenactors on board with. What got me was straight into that stereotype of wanting to sort of be with the girls. And I have at the time had a very young girl, and I wasn't having him in that area with the girls. So I peaked quite soon.
It was being a mother that picked you, which is the same for Ange and I. You know, we can see, like, you know, like Ruby Matthews, we want to protect our children, and it's not okay for grown men to say that they're women and that they're mothers, you know, just like, no, mate, get away from the children.
And that was it. And I'm guilty of watching everyone in the UK and then America and going, nah, us Aussies, we're not going to be having this here. Nah, nah. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, so yeah, and so that was it. I sort of went, okay. I had medical injuries last year and had a lot of time to think and focus, and came out of that going, I've got to say something. I've got to at least, if nobody watches, it doesn't matter, because there's a digital blueprint now of me saying I don't agree, and these are the reasons why I don't agree. And I'm just a woman. That's all. And this is me saying, nah, sorry, not having it. This particular Aussie is not having it.
But you're into
your work.
Yes, you're into some pretty cool stuff though, like tarot, belly dancing, and you're a bit of a goth like me, right? I don't look like a goth, but yeah, I used to be a Queensland goth too, and so yeah, I found your channel really refreshing in that aspect too, because you're into some pretty cool stuff.
I do like my sense of the macabre, and I do like myself of my vintage gothy. I got my lace on today too,
nice.
so I got my pretty lace. So, but I sort of like started realizing that why can't we just be odd and weird, unusual, without having to attach us on to the alphabet soup?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I like my dolls, and I do recycled art. So I often like, well, you know, you see say Dylan Mulvaney get out his Barbies and have a play. And this turf likes doll play too. So I've got my doll house and to get my cauldron out. And sometimes we might do a doll binding. We might give it a little bit of an identity.
A doll binding?
Yes. So we will pick a certain identity to put into the dolly and make it a human effigy of that particular, say, surgeon out there. And we'll do a little bit of a binding so that this person doesn't do any harm to others and also to themselves, because we don't want these people not getting their just desserts in the long run. We want them all to see legal.
Oh, sorry. We need that sort of humour, you know, because this topic can be so depressing, and we need to find the little things that can make us laugh.
Yeah,
we really do. And that's why you've been good. You've been great.
Oh, thank you.
I have to watch you some more, Kellyann. I love the idea that TERFs are the granddaughters of the witches they didn't burn, you know.
We are, yeah.
Woman hating goes way back, you know. They used to literally kill us for these ideas that we have. So good on you for using some of our witchy magic back at them.
Yeah, well, they took it all. They said in the secret societies that they would protect it. And then anytime we ever used it, they said they were old wives' tales. Don't use them. They're old wives' tales. I'll forget that. You know, and then it's pseudoscience. And then it's mumbo jumbo. And then it's woo-woo. And I've been told so many times, you can't fight woo with woo. I'm like, whoa. I'm going to fight it any way I can. If I have to put on I got my turfing hat. So if I got to put on my turfing hat and fight woo with woo.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's a witchy turfing hat. I love it.
That's what I'm going to do. So I get my megaphone out and we give it a good yell, give it a good scream. Yeah. So I always say at the end of me videos, you know, stay loud, my friends.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really important. I think, you know, we all got something to say. And I think every woman's way of doing this is so powerful. And so, yeah, I thought, no, I'll do me witchy stuff because that's what I know best.
Awesome. We'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the comments, if I can figure out how to use the comments. So we'll do that. And yeah, so if everyone wants to have a look at Kelly's channel, have a look. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Who's that in the background? Is that the dog that made the cameo in your last video?
Yeah, that's my puppy. Well, he's not a puppy, he's 4 now, but that's my miniature dash hound. Yeah.
Nice. He's cute little thing. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on our channel, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again. And keep up the fantastic work in Brisbane. We'll probably see you in March.
Yeah, I'm going to see you. I'm going to make sure I see you on Kellyann Kaos. It's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll get you on in real life. No worries.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Kelly. See ya.
See ya. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Bye.
She's awesome, man.
What a wonderful, vibrant guest. Yeah, girl.
I'll have to get her to like read my tarot cards when I meet her. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So what else have we got on our list?
Well, we've still got to talk about the Breastfeeding Association. Maybe you can do that. And also our amazing friend down in Tassie.
Yes.
Jessica.
There was also in the UK a documentary came out that's quite useful. Reality Matters produced a documentary called Adult Human Female, and they, like the Brisbane turf event, they were cancelled. Everyone turned up to watch the premiere in Nottingham, and they were cancelled while they were standing outside the venue. Because trans rights activists, one of their tactics is to call the venues and frighten and intimidate them into cancelling women. And quite often these venues have never heard the women speak, don't know what they're talking about, but they are too afraid of the threats of having their businesses destroyed that they end off cancelling women. So, so that catch that Adult Human Female documentary. There's links to it all over social media, but I think it's also, is it on YouTube? It probably will be. What else? Yes. Jasmine Sussex was in the news this week, both appearing in the paper, and also there's a little bit of a vindicating story came out about the Breastfeeding Association that no longer required your services because you refused to toe the gender woo line and encourage males to breastfeed gunk to their newborn babies. So would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, they just can't help themselves at the ABA. And, I don't want to say I told you so, but I think I did tell you that if you try to appease the gender zealots, that, they're never going to be happy and they're just going to keep pushing. And so a pack of women breastfeeding counsellors who've been, the very same ones who lobbied for me and 6 other breastfeeding counsellors to be disciplined and sacked, and then eventually I got expelled as well for as a member for refusing to shut up, basically. Those women what did you say? Wrong thing? Yeah. Got expelled for wrong thing. They had a tantrum, and the ABA board told them that they were going to close down this Facebook page that was set up for COVID times because face-to-face meetings couldn't happen during COVID. And they said, look, we're going to close it down because we need to focus our resources mum to mum to members and not to, the 11,000 random people on this COVID Facebook page. And they had a tantrum and they literally stole the keys to the Facebook page, changed its name. It used to be Breastfeeding with ABA. Now it's called Breastfeeding Parents Australia.
Parents.
Parents, yeah. Even though they're, 99.99% mothers in the group.
But moobs are welcome. Men with moobs are welcome.
Yeah, men with moobs are welcome. So, yeah, it was pretty amazing. And so the ABA is trying to get the Facebook page back, but I don't know, they haven't got it back yet. And honestly, the people who stole the page, they're just like, they're the people who bullied me out for one, but they're also, so 2 of them have got trans identifying children, as in, young adults or teenagers. Another one is this radical activist lactation consultant who believes in that this universal lactation support, which means she's besties with old mate Jennifer Buckley. Yeah, she's up for the moob feeding, the man boob breastfeeding. And yeah, and then there's a couple of, you know, social justice warrior, trouble causer, hangers on, and they reckon there used to be nearly 20 admins and moderators, and now there's 5. Actually, I think it's 6.
So does that mean that maybe the ABA will reevaluate their values and get back to business because there's been a bit of a split? Or do you think that they will stay on the same path where it's a parent service instead of a service for women and mothers?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm an eternal optimist. Some people call me crazily naive, but I continue to hope that they'll do what they say. So they say they're there for mothers, and that you know, but they will also support women who identify as men if there's the support of the ABA, which is pretty unlikely given they're all having their breasts removed. But anyway, so I mean, you can only hope. Like, surely them watching these women steal their Facebook page would have aggravated the board. So hopefully, I mean, the problem is though, Ange, there's some women on the board who have pronouns. You know, they use pronouns, and the vice president on the board, you know, like, she's a failed Greens politician, activist. You know, she lobbies for the right of, you know, men to have abortions, you know, because she runs an abortion clinic. She's the CEO of abortion clinic up in Queensland. So they've been, you know, the cancer of the gender ideology is inside the ABA. So
that's in every women's org. What's happened? There's been a whole bunch of women behind the scenes organising these groups for decades.
Yeah.
And all it takes is a couple of people with that are political activists who have their own political self-interest ahead of the values of the group to come in and blow everything apart. That's happened right throughout all women's services. And, you know, controversially, I said the other day that, you know, a lot of us are going back underground. You know, particularly domestic violence services are going back underground. And for the people who are fortunate enough to access our services because they have become harder to access, that's probably a good thing, because boards have been captured by, you know, political influence and financial interests for many years. It's the gender thing that's tipped it over the edge to now include men that is taking it to a whole another level. But if we could get back to women's organisations ran by women, with, you know, but they have to be self-supporting, because as soon as you allow sponsorship, or as soon as you allow an outside agency to make donations, they're going to expect something in return. And that's where it's all been corrupted, because these agencies have put their activists onto the boards of all these women's orgs, and they've imploded them. And
it's so good that you run that domestic violence service, you know, and you would know as a peer-to-peer counsellor, it's never appropriate, you know, for you to bring your politics to that therapeutic relationship, you know. And that's what all these breastfeeding counsellors have done. They've made it about them when it should be about the mums who are asking them for help, you know.
I said the other day as well, you know, when a woman comes to our service, we don't ask her political views.
No.
We treat her because she is female and she's experiencing male violence.
That's it.
And so when people call us, say to us, you know, TERFs that we associate with the wrong kind of people, we're not going to say no to any woman.
No. Yeah.
If a woman's traumatized by the idea of men in her services, she's my ally, not the man.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not going to buy into this, you know, framing us as the KKK and Nazis and bigots and all this. I just don't buy into it. They throw it at me and it doesn't stick, because the proof's in the pudding. You know, it's not women like me who are telling people trans women are women. You know, makes me so mad. But Yeah.
And Jessica, we should just talk about Jessica briefly.
Yeah.
It's nearly time. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously she had some bad news.
Yeah, Jessica Hoyle, this is in Tasmania.
Yeah. So she applied for those who don't know the story, she applied for an exemption to the Tasmanian Human Rights Commission to run a social night for lesbians only at her family's pub. And it's taken, over a year for the Human Rights Commission to say no. And then Jessica and her lawyers at the Feminist Legal Clinic appealed that to the Tasmanian Administrative Appeals Tribunal people, and they have also said no. But, the reasons they give for saying no just show you how, what nasty activist, anti-human rights lawyers they are. They're mocking Jessica openly in the judgment.
One of the distinctive things about Tasmania is that they have actually replaced sex as a protected characteristic. They've replaced it with gender. Whereas the rest of Australia so far still has sex as a protected characteristic, sexuality and gender, and now they're introducing gender identity, but they've removed sex from the Tasmanian bill, which has allowed them to say, well, gender identity overrides it. So it's horrendous. Lesbians or gay men or any single sex group can no longer have any event without the threat of being sued.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good news is, like Jessica is a fighter, and I would not get between Jessica and rights for lesbians if I was any, woke, namby-pamby human rights lawyer. So she does have, I think, like 4 weeks or something to appeal it. So I think she is definitely looking at her options with her lawyers. So
good. Yeah, good.
Watch this space.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. What else have we got? Is that about it? Oh, there's just been so much news. The ABC finally dropped the Big Ideas radio episode featuring the big talk we all went to at Melbourne University, in which we were assaulted by trans activists afterwards and doxed weeks later. Which was a really good event that talked about the capture of our media and our universities specifically by ACON, which is the Australian version of Stonewall. So that's really worth a listen. We'll put a link to that in the comments as well. It's also on our brand new Facebook page. The Turf Talk Down Under Facebook page is a private page, so nobody could see who's in the group unless they're in the group, but it is searchable. So if you put Turf Talk Down Under into Facebook, it will come up in your search and you make a request to join. Now, I'm not going to, so all the TRAs that are watching, I'm not going to add you because it's very obvious.
Oh,
a regular watcher of our program. Yes, who's a regular watcher. And most
that's
of it
great.
Yeah, so it is.
It's a debrief.
Yeah, and I only put it up yesterday and we've already got 50 members. And I was like, oh, good. So then the stuff that you miss, that you might miss something, we're putting our latest episodes on there, and if people who we featured on this show do something significant, we can whack that on there too. So that's another way of keeping in touch with us. We also take suggestions for potential guests and topics that are, mostly Australian topics that you'd like to see covered. So, yeah, that'd be good.
And what are those badges just behind your shop?
This is our merchandise that Stasia made a while ago. This is our hang on, how do you do it? Turf Talk Down Under badge.
Nice.
And we've got Team Turf. And we've got some suffragette with the female symbol. And I've also ordered some stickers, and we will be selling little merchandise packs to fund our future events. and things like that. And
Awesome.
yeah, also have raffles and things like that, because of course, you know, when you go to a protest and you want to get some decent signs, or you want to hire a PA or buy a PA or whatever, you know, it's not fair if it just comes out of the pockets of a couple of people when everyone benefits from it. So we'll have like a separate fund that we can use for things like that. Or if we, you know, maybe one day we'll be able to pay for a billboard or something like that, or some advertising, or, you know, or we might need someone might need a legal representation, because like there's been TRAs chomping at the bit to take me to courts. Good luck to them. I welcome it. That's why they haven't done it yet, because I'm like, bring it on, boys. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see what happens.
Oh, well, merchandise.
Yeah,
that's under merchandise. And
yeah.
how's Stars going, Ange?
Pardon?
How's Stars going on her holiday?
Well, she's been watching a lot of catching up on a lot of television.
Nice.
And she's having a nice rest, and now the weather's fined up. Hopefully she'll go travelling, which she's been planning to do, but COVID put a spanner in it. I'm actually heading down to the coast on the weekend for a bit of a bushwalk. And I'm very excited because I felt a bit housebound because of the weather. So I'm going to find out how unfit I am. Should be spending less time on Twitter and eating chips, and more time out in the great outdoors now the weather's finally fining up. So
next week, want to just promo who we're having on next week, Ange?
Yeah. Tell us all about it.
Yeah. Oh, well, so we've got a mum from Melbourne who has been to hell and back with her daughter, who has been caught up in this cult. And so, you know, it is legally quite treacherous to identify yourself as the mother of a rapid onset gender dysphoria child in this state. So she won't be using her name, and you won't be able to see her face, but she's going to share her experience and, I guess, advice for other mothers how to, you know, keep their child safe.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's good.
Yeah.
Cool. So cool, everyone, have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.